Coming up, the Reds have won 11 games in a row. This is Locked On Game to Game, MLB.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. Local experts join us to recap everything for you from yesterday across Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. We thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Back-to-back home runs jump-started the Rays in the first inning of their game to help Tampa beat the Orioles on Wednesday. Locked On Rays has more after picking up the win at home.
And the Rays are able to take a split in Tropicana Field against the Baltimore Orioles. My name is Ulysses Sembrano, co-host of the Locked On Rays podcast. It was a short two-game series against the number one and number two teams in the AL East. The Orioles took the first one. The Rays were able to take the afternoon game behind a Tash Bradley that looked impressive. He had 6 innings of one-run ball, which is the most innings that he has done so far in his very young career. Very big hits by both Randy Arozarena and Isaac Paredes, who got started early with back-to-back jacks. The team is supposedly starting to get on a hot streak again with the bats. The Kansas City Royals are coming. It's a team that you should be able to take advantage in 2023. So it's a 4-game series. Hopefully the Rays are able to take 3, and they will start doing that with Shane McClanahan on the mound. For this and much more of your Tampa Bay Rays, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Rays, and follow us on any podcast platform out there, Locked On Rays. Rays up.
The Reds' winning streak is now up to 11 games after beating the Rockies last night. Our Locked On hosts with both teams have more on the hottest team in baseball.
The Cincinnati Reds rake their way to 11 straight wins. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, and the Cincinnati Reds got exactly what they needed. They fell down 3-0 quickly, a couple of solo shots for the Rockies, but Andrew Abbott was able to pack it in, and the bullpen once again just comes through in the clutch, absolute nails. Buck Farmer with a beautiful 9th inning to get the save, but Jake Fraley with the clutch 2-run homer to put them up 5-3 to give them that final score. This team, they're just too fun right now. I don't know a more fun team in Major League Baseball. And they've got the Braves coming to town. You want to talk about a litmus test? We got a lot to talk about on the next Locked On Reds. Make sure you join us as Paul Holden from Locked On Rockies will join us to give his take on how the Rockies played this series.
Make it 8 straight losses in the row for the Colorado Rockies. They continue to be in a downward spiral as the injuries mount up, the depth questions continue, and the direction of the Colorado Rockies continues to be questioned. I'm Paul Holden, host of the Locked On Rockies podcast. You saw in this series 2 teams that took 2 different paths when it comes to getting back to relevance and getting back to competition and competitive levels. The Reds are getting there. Reds might be having some pieces to fill and maybe benefiting from a more of a weaker division, but they took the tough questions. They took the tough asks, moved on from some key players, and have built something exciting. Colorado Rockies, on the other hand, still figuring out their identity, still figuring out what the plan is, still figuring out where to go next. That question hasn't gotten any more answers, and the future of the Rockies, especially in 2023, continues to be murky. We'll break it all down right here on Locked On Rockies.
The Astros scored 10 runs to take down the Mets yesterday, and Locked On Astros recaps the big win on a big night for the Houston offense.
Hey there, Rachel Wheelhouse here with Locked On Astros, and the Astros win a series. That's right, against the Mets. Look, I don't care if it looks like the PCL, AAA, Sugarland Space Cowboys Hitters League or not, the Astros got the job done. You had key contributions from the top to the bottom of the lineup. Maldonado bunting in runs, Corey Julks getting on base, the Chaz Chomp was in effect. Alex Bregman. Then you had Yainer Diaz all contribute, and Diaz hit a home run. Wow, it was a shot. And even in a game where Pete Alonso hits a home run, you still win the game. 10 runs on 9 hits, 8 runs on 10 hits for the Mets. The Astros put across 10 runs. Now let's hope that when they get to their destination on the road, that they do not forget how to score. This is a great game though. Matan got the win. Presley got the second straight save. Stay tuned in to Locked On Astros. We're your team every day. Go Stros.
The Nationals shut out the Cardinals behind 6 shutout innings from Trevor Williams, and our Locked On Nationals host tells you how Washington got the job done against St. Louis.
The Washington Nationals avoid the sweep against the St. Louis Cardinals, winning 3-0 in Game 3 of the series. I'm Ryan Clary, host of the Locked On Nationals podcast. And guys, if you haven't already, subscribe over to Locked On Nationals and get your best Washington Nationals content to the day. Luis Garcia, 2 hits today, a big day from the lefty second baseman. Luis Garcia, in my opinion, was probably the star of this game outside of Trevor Williams. But you can also talk about the Candyman, Jeimer Candelario, and should he be an all-star? Oh my God, Jeimer Candelario and what he has done lately has been incredible. But also shout out to Trevor Williams, 6 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts, no walks, and only 5 hits. Mason Thompson came in relief. He walked 1, struck out 1. But ultimately, it was a team win and a much-needed win for the Washington Nationals.
Coming up, the Yankees and Dodgers pick up Wednesday wins. This is Locked On Game to Game, MLB. Today's edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by Bird Dogs. They are the fashionable but comfortable shorts for men. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You won't want to take your bird dogs off, we promise. Welcome back. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. 3 home runs for the Yankees got New York past Seattle in the Bronx yesterday. Locked On Yankees has more as New York wins its 2nd game in a row.
The Yankees won their first series since the first series in June against the Dodgers. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias of Locked On Yankees, and it's true. They hadn't won a series since that 2 out of 3 performance in LA. They beat Seattle 4-2 on Wednesday night to guarantee a series win, and they win the season series as well. Johnny Brito, 5 2/3 innings. I would say he was the big story because coming in from AAA, he gave up 6 runs in each of his 2 previous appearances, and that was slightly worrisome. And then he comes in, pitches in the Bronx, hoping to get a win or just hoping to help the Yankees stay in a game against Luis Castillo, and he gives up 0 runs. Luis Castillo gives up 3 because it's baseball and you can't predict baseball, Susan. So we will have everything you need to know about this game on the next Locked On Yankees, and we'll also have a preview of the finale against Seattle. So please tune in.
Rookie Bo Naylor got his first major league hit yesterday and scored the go-ahead run for the Guardians in a win over the A's. Our Locked On Guardians host recaps the exciting start to Naylor's career.
A not so pretty win for the Guardians against the Athletics this year, and they have yet to have one of those pretty wins against the Athletics this season. I'm Justin Laticos, Locked On Guardians. Luckily, the Guardians have continued to beat the Oakland Athletics, and they're going to be able to go for a sweep on Thursday afternoon. It'll be the first sweep of the season for the Guardians, if you can believe that, if they can pull it off on Thursday afternoon. Gavin Williams, uneven in his first big league start. Rough 4th inning, hung a pitch to Ryan Noda. Kind of had some issues with control, not really unexpected, but he survived, was able to go 6 innings. That's kind of what you want from him. He pitched good enough to keep the Guardians in the game. The offense came around, did some late heroics. Josh Naylor, a huge late home run off a left-hander as he continues to improve, and they can make a case for all-star for himself. And Bo Naylor had a hit late in the game that ended up scoring the game-winning run. Guardians able to walk away with another 1-run victory against the Athletics. We'll break it all down for you on Locked On Guardians.
The Twins took down the Red Sox in extra innings yesterday with Kyle Farmer hitting the game winner to send the Minnesota fans home happy. Locked On Red Sox recaps the losing side for Boston.
Frustrating loss for the Red Sox tonight as they fell 5-4 in 10 innings to the Twins due to primarily some defensive inefficiencies and base running mistakes. Caleb Orr came in the bottom of the 10th inning and ultimately gave up the walk-off single to snap what had been a 6-game win streak previously for the Red Sox. Can't win them all. There were some positive takeaways. Alex Verdugo extended his hit streak to 12 games. Christian Arroyo added to an already strong Tuesday night with 2 hits tonight himself. And Justin Turner just continues to mash. Crushed a home run to the 3rd deck tonight and is a really, really strong bat to have in this lineup. Not the strongest outing for Garrett Whitlock either tonight, but that's not something to be too concerned about going forward. Can't wait to break it all down with you on Locked On Red Sox.
The division-leading Rangers beat the White Sox yesterday to take 2 out of 3 in their series with Chicago. Locked on White Sox goes over another lost series that keeps them at arm's length from the AL Central lead.
The Chicago White Sox lost to the Texas Rangers 6-3 on the South Side on Wednesday night. Hey, I'm Nick Morawski from Locked on White Sox. Sox lost the game and they lost the series. They have now lost 4 series in a row. They are 12 games under 500 and 5.5 games back in the AL Central. Sox starter Michael Kopech only went 4 innings through 86 pitches. Sox offense just 4 hits. Andrew Vaughn did hit a home run for the White Sox. Sox have the day off on Thursday and then welcome the Boston Red Sox to town on Friday to start a 3-game series. For more, check out the Locked On White Sox podcast.
Freddie Freeman hit a home run off Shohei Ohtani and gave the Dodgers a rare win over the former MVP. Locked On Angels has more after a shutout loss for LA.
Shohei Ohtani's first Major League start against the Dodgers went well for him. He was fantastic. But the Angels' offense was offensive. They were terrible. Hey, everybody, it's Mike Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels. Angels lose on Wednesday night to the Dodgers 2-0. The second night in a row, they lost 2-0. It wasn't Shohei's fault. He pitched a heck of a game. 7 innings, struck out 12, looked fantastic on the mound. But offensively, the Angels were terrible. Luis Rengifo had both of the Angels' hits. At one point, he hit a double, was moved over to third. He tried to tag and score on a short fly ball to left field, but was thrown out at home plate. But I get the aggressiveness because the Angels couldn't do anything else. Now, I also get losing to Clayton Kershaw on Tuesday night 2-0. You just tip the cap to him. But we lost 2-0 to the Dodgers bullpen. It was a bullpen game, and we couldn't do anything against this bullpen that has a 5 ERA. So come on, Angels. Let's do something, right? Maybe we can get right against the Rockies this weekend. John and I are going to recap this game on Locked On Angels, and we hope you'll join us.
That's it for this edition of Locked On Game to Game MLB. As always, we thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Make sure that you subscribe to Locked On MLB and your favorite team's Locked On podcast on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts from. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.